Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're continuing our read through of Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, and we are up to chapter 32 entitled Side Carry. Before we get into the chapter, because there's a lot that happens in this chapter that's pretty important for what's about to happen, there's a lot of subtle hints, a lot of foreshadowing in this chapter. So again, I'm not going to spoil that. I'm going to call your attention to it. But we'll let the story continue to develop. But at the beginning of the chapter, we have now, in part 3, we've read almost sort of like scientific recordings of readings. And these are what Shalon and Yasna are studying in Cabranth. So these are things that are being highlighted by them. And that's not a spoiler, that just lets you know what this is coming from. So it has to do with something that Yasna is studying out. And this one's interesting. It's a quotation from the Song of the Last Summer, which is a fanciful romantic tale from the 3rd century after the Recreants. But we read, it is likely a valid reference in this case. And what is that quotation? They lived high atop a place no man could reach, but all could visit. The tower city itself, crafted by the hands of no man. So this tower seems to be something that was very tall. No one could reach it. People lived atop it, or something lived atop it. They, and all could visit it. A tower crafted by the hands of no man. So this sort of mystical tower that something beyond man created. And so just wanted to draw your attention to that. But the side carry, what's going on here? Well, Kaladin has still been practicing with Bridge 4, and they're working on this new side carry. And what Kaladin is trying to do is think of ways to protect his men in these bridge runs. And if they can't carry shields, what if they could turn the bridge into a shield? So they've been working on transferring this bridge from above their shoulders to on their sides, and maybe even running forward with it. And they've been drilling, they've been getting stronger. Well, they are practicing when Kaladin notices that there's a new batch of criminals, slaves, prisoners that have been deposited to Gaz to sort through. So Kaladin runs over because they are low on men, and Bridge 4 desperately needs some people. Well, Gaz, in typical Gaz fashion, portions them all out to other bridge crews and doesn't give Bridge 4 anything. So Kaladin grabs his wrist where it gives him that look and is like, just give me one. Fine, take one. And so he's looking through the line trying to find the tallest, strongest, when he hears this voice shout out to him, hey, Gancho. Hey, you want me, I think. Turns around, and who's he see? He sees this short, spindly looking man waving at him, smiling. More than that, this one doesn't have an arm. He's got very dark skin, sort of curly, dark hair. And Kaladin's like, there's no way we're going with this guy. He's the opposite of what I need. Well, the man's relentless. He says, you can use me. We Herdazians are great fighters gone. And so Herdazians, so he's from a place called Herdaz, and we'll learn about this later. But Kaladin knows he'd make a terrible bridgeman. He has one arm, he's short, and what's he going to do? Hold it up with one arm and think that he's going to be any help to us? But Kaladin being Kaladin, he selects him. And so he introduces himself as Lopen, L-O-P-E-N, Lopen. He says, but some of my cousins call me the Lopen because they haven't ever heard anyone else name that. So the Lopen is who he has chosen. Well, he comes wandering back, and Lopen has absolutely no idea where he's at, why he's there. I mean, he's not like unconscious, but he has no idea what a bridge crew is. He thinks he's in the military. He keeps saluting Kaladin, saluting people as they're walking by. And Rock comes up to him and goes like, Gaz, of course, would give us this. He would only give us the most useless of bridgemen from now on. And Kaladin was tempted to say something about like, yeah, Gaz is the worst, but he notices that Syl probably would see it as a lie, and it would probably annoy her. Something I did want to highlight here, Syl seems to be very, very sensitive to things that are like lies or not telling the truth or exaggerations. She's very sensitive to that. She wants people to tell the truth. We'll see what that has to do about her character moving forward. Well, before he even has a chance to really collect his thoughts, Battlehorn signs off, and there has been a chrysalis spotted and a gem heart. And so they are going to try to race out there, and Bridge 4 is on the bridge run. So Kaladin looks to Lopen, and he says, hey, go find some water pouches at the carpenter's shop. They told us that we could use them on the bridge run. Salutes, off he runs. And so he now, Bridge 4 is working like a well-oiled machine. He gives a couple verbal commands, up, line up, march, and they're gone. They actually get to the preparation grounds before even the soldiers get there. So they're all lined up. Well, Lopen brings not just himself, but he brings the two men who were injured in that really, really bad bridge run several chapters ago. And they all have water. So Lopen's like, well, you told me to grab what I could, so I grabbed these two, and they grab water as well. So Kaladin's like, well, that worked out better than I had planned. Line up and begin to march out. Well, this is a much longer march than normal. This is hours. They're going out into the shattered plains. But because Bridge 4 is stronger now, they have one more meal because they're eating soup every night together around a fire. And they've been practicing. They are stronger. And so they're not deadly exhausted when they get across every single time that they get to another chasm. And in fact, with the water that Lopen and the other two men brought, they're able to drink water in between. So they're in a great place physically right now, which is really, really good. But when they finally get there, they get to a very large plateau. And this is one that has been affectionately called the Tower because it is a massive landmass that goes way high up into the sky, and it's called the Tower because it looks like a tower. Maybe there's a reason that there was a reference to something at the beginning of the chapter. That's all I'll say. Well, they line up, and Kaladin knows, I think this is going to be the time to try to use the side carry. And so he signals to Bridge 4 that we're going to use the side carry. Now, in order to be able to turn, we're going to need to get out in front of everybody because we're going to need some space to maneuver. They each have targets of where they're supposed to go so that Sadeas's cavalry can charge sort of abreast across the bridges. And so they have a target that they need to get to, but Kaladin's going to get in front, lead them, and he's going to be leading them like out, and then they're going to turn when they shoot arrows, and then he's going to lead them back and then turn when they shoot arrows, and hopefully eat the arrows into the bridge. Well, they begin to reposition the bridge on their side when Lamaril, that Light Eyes general, who's very, very low-ranking Light Eyes, but right above Gaz, when he and Gaz see them doing it, they begin to whisper. Some people are looking over like, what are they doing? And Gaz, we're assuming it's done off script, but lets him know, no, this is how we're going to take care of Bridge 4. So they don't say anything. The horn sounds, the charge begins, and it works. Kaladin is in the front leading. He lets the men know, well, if it doesn't work out and I get killed, switch back to normal and then be happy that you're going to be done with me. Well, somebody kind of says out from Bridge 4, Natim is his name. He says, well, what if we don't want to be rid of you? And Kaladin smiled. Well, then run swiftly and follow my lead. I'm going to turn us unexpectedly during the run. Be ready to change directions. So they line up, the horn sounds, they start running. They do get out in front, and Kaladin's leading them the way that they need to go. We do find that Kaladin feels this sort of burst of strength within him as they're running. He thinks it's the energy of the battle, but he feels like the bridge is way less heavy than it should be. And so they're running, shouting, and it's working. They are eating the arrows when they turn, and then they keep running, and then they turn, and then they keep running. They get there first to the last chasm, get their bridge in place, and turn around to see all the soldiers charging. When no one else is there, they've gotten there way before everybody else, and he turns around, Kaladin turns around, and is just seeing a massacre. And it kind of begins to hit him that he's been thinking in a very isolated bubble. He's only thought about Bridge 4. He forgot about the general battle-wide strategy. He knows what they're doing because he was a soldier. He understands the approach. But when he changed things up, got in front of everybody, the other bridges, while they're running, are seeing Bridge 4's success and tried to emulate it. And they are getting mowed down. And so the cavalry can't get across like they're supposed to. The bridges are being dropped because men are dying so quickly. The cavalry that does get across are being surrounded by the Parshendi because they used speed and intimidation as a huge factor in their run. And Kaladin and Bridge 4 have since run back to a nearby rock that they could hide behind like they normally do. And Kaladin is being hit by a wave of, oh no, this is not good, especially when he sees that Sadeas himself has had to ride into the battle in shard plate and is trying to salvage his cavalry and soldiers from being completely destroyed. Chapter ends when Gaz and Lamoral come furiously marching over to Kaladin, even while the battle is still raging. And Kaladin has to think on his feet. Okay, he can't argue, he can't claim this wasn't my fault, he can't claim that it was their fault because that's not going to work. So he thinks through things really logically, really quickly. And when they show up, Rock and Tef try to step in front of him to fight him. He said, no, stand down. Gaz sputters out when he shows up, do you have any idea what you've done? And Kaladin tells him exactly what he's done. I've upended the armor's strategy. I've thrown the entire force into chaos. You've come to punish me so that when your superiors come screaming to you, you can tell them that you have at least handled the one who's done this quickly and responsibly. But, he says, if you leave me alive, I promise I will tell your superiors that you both had nothing to do with this. And they said, why do we care what your word is? He said, well, because it may look, if you kill me, like you're trying to hide something. They're going, hide something? He says, well, a number of bridges saw you whispering when we turned our bridge to the side. And it could very well look like you were trying to kill the people who could oust you. Well, that is going to work. He says, if I can't vouch for your ignorance of what I was going to do, then you will look very bad. Lamoral knows he's sort of been caught here. But so he tells his soldiers to beat him, but don't kill him. Well, there's nothing that he can do. They pounce on Kaladin. They begin kicking him and beating him. And they rip his clothes. They tear his pouch and his spheres that he's collected that you're not going to leave back in camp go scattering on the ground as he falls in a heap and begins to be beaten. But we read something interesting. They had somehow lost their stormlight and were now done. Their life run out, but the soldiers kept kicking. That's an interesting way to end the chapter. Kaladin thought he was doing something that was good, turned out that he upended the entire army's strategy. What's going to happen? What's Sadeas going to do? We'll see in the next chapter as the story progresses. But thanks so much for watching. You can like and subscribe, and we'll keep reading through Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings. Look forward to getting back together in the next video.